Okay, welcome everybody. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and see my presentation here. I miss everyone's busy schedule. My name is Mark Alamares, and I'm here to help everybody put together a portable streaming solution. And I'm going to be sharing some of the tricks of the trade in regards to able to deliver, I guess, a solid, high-quality stream with some equipment that can help you produce some streams specifically for smaller events and sometimes medium-sized events. And so let's start. And here we have Sean Lamb over there. Okay. But anyways, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm with a company called Mobeon, and Mobeon is one of the leading streaming companies in the U.S. We handle various events from small to large scale, and some of our clients include some Fortune 100 companies, as well as some startups and nonprofit organizations. So we handle the whole gamut, specifically in streaming. In addition, we are actually producing the streams for streaming media in the various rooms, especially in the main keynote room there. And so I'd like to start off by telling you a little bit more on how to, again, achieve a lot with minimal resources and also being able to travel lightly, especially when you have jobs across the US. We all know that streaming is a growth industry, and the tools have become much more easier. There's a lot more software that's out there and also hardware. And again, you're fortunate to be in this growth industry because of the fact that there's a lot of opportunity out there. So let's move on to some of the software. Now, there's some great pieces of software out there and hardware. And I just have to let you know, since there's a wide gamut and a wide variety, I'll try to cover some of the tools that we use. I can't cover them all. Because again, it's just right now we're being bombarded by all these new technologies, and they're happening as we speak. But I will try to cover some of the things that we know have worked well for us, and also I can't get into some of the details in regards to some of the gear because of the time constraints. But I'd be more than glad to talk to you after the show if you have any questions in regards to some of the specifications of the hardware or software. But let's start off with some streaming software. I've had the fortunate experience to be working a lot with Wirecast Pro, and that's from Telestream. And Wirecast Pro just recently introduced version 6, and it comes in two versions. It has the studio version. It's more of a starter piece of software, and then also we have the Pro version. It's Mac and PC compatible, but also they've introduced some new things in this latest iteration, and it has both a replay button where you could replay certain clips, which is fantastic because, again, this option was limited to higher-end systems. For instance, like the the 3Play by Newtek, but the replay ability allows you to capture and replay maybe some playbacks from sporting events and other types of things where you could create some highlights and so forth. So that's something that's very, I guess, groundbreaking. Another thing is it has Twitter social media integration. All you have to do is provide your Twitter account and log in, and you can actually select certain the tweets that you want presented. Obviously, it gives you the moderation capabilities so that you can select and choose what you want to appear in the stream itself. And then it has other capabilities and functions such as drag and drop for playlists, and it's quite versatile to go into and configure it for various content delivery networks. One thing about Wirecast that I do highly recommend is that it has versatility. And so, again, we use almost all the different hardware and software solutions, but Wirecast has been a saving grace in a lot of events because, again, in doing the streaming events, you have to be flexible because environment changes. Your client makes last-minute, changes and also requests, and you're going to have to be able to accommodate them sometimes. And Wirecast allows us to basically stream to almost all platforms out there. But in addition, it serves many purposes. It serves as a titling program because, they also added, there's a plugin by a company called Blue Effects that has a Titler Pro program that is a plugin that allows you to add titles on the fly. This is fantastic because of the fact that, again, it gives that functionality where the original version of Wirecast titling software was somewhat limited. So it expands that to where you can add lower thirds graphics and make those changes right on the spot. So that's something to look out for because of the fact that, again, titling is going to be a key important specifically for various events. Another thing is the competitor to Wirecast, but it's called vMix HD 4K, and it has two versions. There's a $320 HD version and a $630 4K version, and also some of these companies are exhibiting at the exhibiting hall, and something that you may want to check out, and they do, and they should be able to answer and address all your questions. So vMix is a great alternative to Wirecast. It's a very capable software. It does support 4K, which is a positive aspect of the software, but in addition, I'll get a little bit into 4K since that's become something that we're starting to transition over into because, again, as bandwidth increases and also camera capabilities have become much more reasonable because of the fact that 4K is now much more accessible since it's kind of hit the mainstream through Netflix and so forth. We have some clients that are asking and requesting for the possibility of 4K, and that's something we'll delve into as well. So now we'll get into capture hardware. Now, capture hardware obviously is something that there are two major hardware manufacturers that supply these cards that go into various iterations of streaming systems, and one of them is the Matrox VS4. And the Matrox VS4 is a fantastic card that provides 4-channel SDI, HD SDI inputs, and the Matrox VS4 is compatible with both the Wirecast and the vMix software. In addition, they introduced a version of software called a Pro Recorder, which allows you to record 4 individual ISOs, and allows you to save them in various bit rates to archive some of the footage if you're wanting to record the individual camera streams. And then there's the Decklink Quad by Blackmagic, and it's both Mac and PC compatible. And one thing I do want to note is that the VS4 card, as presented before, is only PC compatible. So the Decklink Quad is also a good choice for a capture and streaming card that you may want to look into. One of the minor drawbacks is that it cannot record ISOs, but it functions fantastically as a switcher and also has various other capabilities that are adequate for streaming. So those are the two cards to look out for specifically in building or that are incorporated into various out-of-the-box streaming solutions. So something you want to consider when purchasing is whether or not the functionality of each card serves your purpose when configuring a streaming system. And so, again, now another thing is that when you go on to, we do various events, and one of the things that is quite important is that since the nature of streaming is very volatile, I would say, and you guys know that when preparing for a stream, you always have to think about the what ifs. And the thing is, though, that's going to be another discussion. But what I'm going to do is give you some other suggestions for certain hardware that will help you accommodate and adjust the situations. And one of the more important things are converter boxes. And so this is a best kept secret, and fortunately I've been able to discover and work with Roland in regards to helping find solutions. But the Roland VC1 SC up-down cross scan converter has been a lifesaver sometimes because of the fact that it's very versatile. It could take various inputs from 3G, HDSDI inputs, HDMI, composite, and so forth. And other than internet and bandwidth issues that are generally the problem when you have streaming productions, is that you have scaling issues when doing presentations specifically, because laptops with presenters, they generally tend to want to bring their own laptops when you're doing, let's say, a corporate event, and you don't know what they're going to be feeding you and if they're going to be sending you a laptop with SVHS or some old ancient technology. I mean, and I want to give you some certain examples where, sometimes when there's an event and the presenter brings in a laptop and you have to scale that immediately. So with the Roland, it can allow you, since you could pretty much handle everything you throw at it, it allows you to take that feed and convert it to a compatible signal to bring into your switcher. So this is something that I highly recommend you guys look into because of the fact that it can handle various inputs and give you very likely the output that you need. So that's one of them. And that's a major issue, I would say, specifically for doing events, is being able to convert the laptop signals. So this is another option for you, is a Blackmagic HDMI to SDI mini converter. And then they also have the SDI to HDMI converters. I would recommend in your kit to have and find out what solution works for you, but have a couple of these in your bag just in case, because again, there's a lot of unknown. Now, there are some drawbacks to the Blackmagic converters, is that generally, in my experience in dealing with Blackmagic products, it's very finicky, and specifically the type of signal that you're sending it to, you're sending to it and getting from it. Blackmagic tends to like 1080i 5994. That seems to be the rate that the scan rate that it's most apt in dealing with. So again, these converters may not work for you, when you're on location and so forth. So as I'd recommended, buy multiple converters. They're all relatively small and somewhat inexpensive, and basically it'll save you in those crunched situations. Now, here's another one: is the Atomos S2H HD SDI converter to HDMI, and then also the H2S, which is the HDMI to HD SDI converter. They function like the other converter boxes I had mentioned, but the great thing about this is that they're battery powered, and they're quite versatile in the different the scan rates, and they work a lot of the times. And so, and that's something that I do recommend for this, since they're much more compact. They're, as you see, you can fit them in the palm of your hand, and they both work off of both battery and AC power. So, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wondered, is that the only one that's battery powered?
Yeah, I think, again, my colleague Sean, I think that's one of the few. There is the Blackmagic, has a battery-powered unit. It's a little bit larger, but what's great about these is just they're so compact, and you're not lugging around, large metal boxes. So.
I use those Ninja recorders on my shoots, so they probably use the same batteries.
Yeah, they use the same batteries as the Ninja recorders. So, okay.
Do they last a while? Do you use them?
Yeah, I've used them often, and they've been lasting for quite some time. Probably I've been using them for at least a couple years.
No, but I mean on a shoot, because like my shoots are some of them go all day.
Yeah, so I would always recommend, you can't rely on battery power all the time, just to have some, bring extra batteries or even plug into the wall generally. But if you're much more mobile, then again, obviously bring as much batteries as possible that you could carry on with you. So let's go into cameras. Now, again, there's been an influx of various selections and choices of cameras. Now, as I have gone over before, that you can use consumer cameras specifically for streaming. I don't recommend them specifically for professional events. The quality of cameras has improved immensely over the years, and there's no doubt that even the consumer cameras produce a fantastic signal. My general recommendation is to use equipment that has an HD SDI output, and also using, in regards to the streaming system, I recommend using these switchers that have an HD SDI input as well. But the thing is, though, again, there's no doubt that there's more selection of equipment, and we'll get into that later, where you can stream with HDMI equipment. So, and I'm giving you a choice. You can look at other consumer cameras, and what's great about them, they produce a fantastic image. They're inexpensive and compact, and they may serve the purpose for what you need based on the event, the budget, and so forth. So that's something that you don't necessarily have to leave out. If you feel like, again, depending on the event, these would serve your needs quite well. Another thing that I'd like to go over is possibly using the GoPro Hero 4s. We've used the Hero 4s for various situations. They prove to be quite excellent in providing different types of camera angles when needed. And we stream from them. We actually did an interactive fashion show where we had 8 GoPros streaming simultaneously from a single room. And basically, it was an event for a fashion company where they locked an individual in a room, some celebrity, and they wanted to interact with him and see what he was doing. And then they had the online audience and various people. They were able to contact him via social media and ask him questions and kind of command him to do things while they're watching. And we've used the GoPro Heroes in that case, and it was very solid. One thing, though, is then you do need to convert the HDMI signal out of the GoPro units to SDI if you do use it for your switcher. It does have HDMI outputs on it, but just make sure that you have the right cabling and the converter boxes if you want to use it for a professional application. But the GoPros are fantastic in regards to streaming high-quality video, and so that's one of my other recommendations. Another thing is in doing events is that you don't necessarily have the resources and or manpower to shoot events because, again, as I'd mentioned, that the budget is always an issue, the time factor, and how quickly you could get a crew organized to do so. And one thing, though, that I've developed over the years is to basically try to narrow everything down to where you could almost bring everything onto a carry-on or check-in case on a flight. And there's some events where you do not have access to the camera operators. And so I'm going to next go into some other solutions that can help you in producing live events, and I would say this can be a savior in a lot of instances. And one thing I'd like to go over is this Mobeon StreamCam auto tracking camera. And what's great about this camera, and it's just recently been released, and it functions and performs quite well, is that it allows you to bring a single camera, and this is the actual camera itself, and it's $49.95, and it allows you to have 2 simultaneous camera outputs, one that is a wide shot and another one that serves as a close-up that offers facial recognition, also tracking. And so you literally can do a corporate presentation with a single camera without a camera operator. And this is quite phenomenal because of the fact that, again, not having to hire a camera operator, you could also, in addition to saving the cost of that, but also you could pack this into a small bag, plus also a little case and so forth, and you have your camera operator while you can handle the switching. And basically, it's it's two HDSDI connectors, and there's a one wide angle. There's a wide angle lens at the bottom here, and then this is also has the close-up lens at the top. And again, it has a 20 times zoom, so especially if you're doing conferences, it'll give you again the reach that you need to get more of a close-up shot. So this is something I think is quite phenomenal because of the fact that, again, depending on the rates of the camera operators and how many that you have, you'll save in the cost of a camera operator. And sorry, camera operators, but it's something that, again, if you're like a one-man band, this is something that will be very effective in helping you do presentations and other events using this camera. So the next thing is the Panasonic AW-HE120s. These are fantastic as well. They're a little bit larger than this. It does also offer a 20 times optical zoom lens, and it has three 1/3-inch sensors. And these cameras are often used in houses of worship where they're positioned in a lot of synagogues and churches and so forth. But I found this effective in bringing with me to various events because of the fact that it allows full control with a control unit. But in addition, it outputs through HDSDI, and I could run it to my mixer, switcher. And it's a fantastic camera, and it has the same lens as some of the pro Panasonic cameras out there. So it's something as an alternative to this camera here, but also it's allows us to do a lot of productions with minimal manpower, and that's something that you definitely should look into. So again, the Panasonic AW-HE120. So in addition, when we're doing productions as well, is that we have to decide whether or not, what the best cameras to take. And when we do have the budgets for camera operators, this is one of my favorite, is the Canon XA25s. And it allows for capturing high quality images. It has professional XLR audio inputs as well as HDSDI outputs, and it records to SD cards, and the quality of the images is fantastic as well. And in fact, we're using this camera, and I think we're using some back there, but we're actually capturing the whole streaming media events using these cameras. And it's compact. The quality is there, and also the overall package is an all-inclusive package, and features of the camera allow for it just to be a great streaming camera, run and gun camera, and so forth. So that's something that you guys should definitely take a look at specifically for your events. And a step up from that is the Canon XF205, which also is another favorite. I've used this camera as well, and also its predecessor, the 105. Again, this is very similar to the XA25, but it has a little bit better image, sensors. But also another thing is that it records to other formats, to both compact flash and SD. And it does offer the full XLR connectors and SDI outputs of this, from this. And again, a little bit larger. And if you're looking for something that's a little bit more on the pro side or prosumer side, this is the Canon XF205 is a great choice as well. And I think this is last but not least is the Sony PMW200. This is, again, a workhorse. We've used the PMW 200s for a lot of events. And also we still in fact use the Sony EX1Rs or EX1s, which is the predecessor to this camera. But overall, the PMW 200 offers both fantastic sensor, but also it has the Pro functionality built in. It has the Pro XLR inputs as well as the HD SDI outputs as well. And overall, for various events, if you do stage larger events or participate in those, I would recommend the PMW 200 as a camera. And again, if you do have the room to pack these into your bag or into your other cases, you could literally fit 3 of them in a Pelican case about this big. We've done it, and it's just, again, it's a workhorse, and never had any issues with the cameras whatsoever. So now, here's another thing. Here's a question that I have. How many people out there are getting requests for 4K, or has that been any? Has any of your clients asked for it, or you guys see again, the growth of 4K in general, both on the consumer side? Not yet? Okay. Well, one of the things about 4K is that obviously, and I personally don't think it's something that it's just, I feel that 4K is going to be here with us from now on end. It's not going to be something like 3D and so forth. But it's a definite step up from standard HD. And to future-proof yourself, we have several of these units available. I highly recommend the Panasonic GH4 camcorder. Now, it comes in more of a DSLR configuration, but specifically for streaming, and again, it's a matter of preference. You can take the HDMI out and convert that to an SDI signal, or you can take the HDMI straight out and have it patched into your switcher. But I highly recommend buying this camera in conjunction with a YAGH interface. And that YAGH interface, and I know it's a kind of a strange name, but that's what Panasonic named it, but it's kind of a docking station that expands the capabilities of the camera. In addition to being able to shoot 4K, the docking station allows you to add professional XLR inputs, which is always important, as I've stressed before, but also have an SDI output again, for your streams and also for 4K capture. The unit does capture 4K within the camera with cards, but also you can send out 4K and interface it with various other 4K switchers. And so this is something, if you're looking to make the investment in making yourself future-proof, I would recommend, again, the GH4. It's an excellent solution because of the fact that the imaging and everything else is just fantastic. We've done events, and our clients thought that we used much more expensive cameras, and we were able to impress them. So that's something to look out for when you're making the next purchase for the camera, whether or not you want to be prepared for 4K. And let's go back to, again, laptop switchers. Now, again, here's a setup with Wirecast Pro based on a MacBook Retina system. And there's our usual suspects of the Canon XA25s mixed in with the Blackmagic Ultra Studio recorders. And this allows you to have a three camera input switching system with the MacBook Retina. And believe it or not, this is a quite effective system. One thing you do have to remember to get is the USB to Ethernet adapter, since the MacBook Pro Retinas don't have that Ethernet connection. And the number one rule of streaming is that always have a hardline connection to the internet and don't rely on anything wireless or Wi-Fi. So that's something that's important to get. But also, this is a great portable unit. You can literally almost fit in your backpack, and that's ultimately where we'd like to go, both including camera and switching system, being able to just literally put something in a bag and jump on a plane, and you're off to the races to stream for your event. So this is a fantastic system, and we've actually used these in certain critical situations where we didn't have the time nor the the manpower to do a production, but we were able to just put this together and get this out there, and deploy it, and to much success. So, and here's another option that I've covered before, but it's the CalDigit Thunderbolt station, which it's a small unit and allows you to expand the inputs of a Mac laptop. And so that's something that I do recommend getting because of the fact that it adds additional USB ports. It doesn't add any extra Thunderbolt ports because, again, due to the restrictions of Thunderbolt, unfortunately, it doesn't allow it. So, but it does add another HDMI output to the Mac laptop, and it's something I would highly recommend in getting and adding to your kit as well. So here's something that's quite interesting is the Magewell units. And I have a couple of them here. And what this allows you to do is, it's a dongle, and it's approximately this size. And you could take various sources, whether it's HDMI, I don't know if you could see that, but also SDI, and through USB 3.0, have this connected to a camera and use this as an input for Wirecast or vMix and so forth. And basically, you have the box necessary to interface with your cameras. In addition, also it doesn't require any drivers. So it's pretty much plug and play, and I think that's an interesting solution because, again, there are a lot of times where you're doing an event and you need to kind of quickly set up and so forth, and if you didn't have time to prep, this is a quick and dirty solution just to get the signal into your system. But also the Magewell has another unit, the 200X USB, and what this does is allows you to take dual 1080p signals in a single box and use this to input into your camera. You could use HDMI and then also DVI, and basically run, since it's dual channel, run this via USB 3.0 into your laptop. And from what I was told, that this is currently going to be driverless in the next couple months. And also, what's recommended is that you could handle various camera inputs. And for me, I would always generally want more than 2, and preferably 4. From the initial test, it can handle up to 4, but possibly on a more lower resolution. That's what they recommend at about 720p. So this is a way to get more camera inputs into your laptop. So. Now let's get into switchers. So Blackmagic does produce good quality switching equipment, and again, I'm a fan of the A10 Production Studio, and the prices range from $16.95 to $39.95, depending on how many inputs that you need and so forth. And they have a full range of different products that will serve your needs specifically in switching. And one thing great about it is that having a hardware-based switcher gives you the reliability that you don't necessarily have on a software-based switcher or switching system. And here's a little secret that I'll keep on referring to, but we use these units in conjunction with Mac Mini encoders, and but I'll share that with you later on in the speech. But basically, we use these as a hardware switcher, and we'll run it through like another vMix or Wirecast encoder on a Mac Mini. And again, there are graphics. It does have graphic overlay capabilities and so forth, but we tend to want to use other pieces of software that allows you to overlay graphics and replay video and so forth. But overall, We have this in a flight case, like a mini flight case, and the A10 production studios have done quite well. We really like them a lot, so that's something to consider in building a kit. Now here's another thing. Ultimately, is that I would like to be able to stream high quality productions, as I mentioned, something that can fit in a backpack. And there are other solutions out there using iPads and iPhones and mobile phones and so forth, and Android phones that deliver great quality. But the thing is, though, obviously I'm not covering that, but I'm covering the professional solutions that allow you to, again, be able to do productions where if you have a backpack and fit everything in and you're good to go. So the thing is, though, what I was quite impressed, and I haven't yet been able to test it because, again, the availability of this new hardware that just recently came out of these units is quite hard to get, but I wanted to show this to you, but it's the TriCaster Mini HD4. Now, this is something that is quite interesting because of the fact that this does, in fact, fit in a backpack. And if you looked at some of the demos from TriCaster, this is something that you could literally have set up within 5 minutes. And one thing in doing live productions is the prep time and the setup times. And basically, when doing any events, it's a race for time to make sure that you're going to be able to stream at the designated stream time. And so, again, the TriCaster Mini seems like a fantastic solution, but one of the things, and it may or may not be a drawback, as I mentioned, is that it takes HDMI inputs. And but as I mentioned before, you see a GoPro being used, but it seems pretty formidable as a portable streaming system. And obviously, this is something to watch out for because NewTek has a fantastic reputation in live streaming equipment, and so that's something you should highly consider. Now, another unit for portable streaming that we've used quite often is the Stream Machine. And I have a sample of the Stream Machine here. And what this is something in a lightweight configuration. It's more of a lunchbox unit. This unit has the Matrox VS4 and has 4 SDI inputs, plus also it has RAID cartridges in the front that you could pop out, and also internal hard drives and an SSD drive that it's configured with. And this unit is something that we've literally, again, taken with us and actually hand carried to events without having to pack it into any luggage and so forth. We literally just got this and put some cameras, and we're off. And this is very versatile because, again, other than being a switcher, we could configure this as an ISO. It does have ISO recording capabilities, but sometimes we have clients that just want ISOs for the event, and then we use this just to record the various streams independently at high quality. So this is something that is, again, quite versatile. It's portable, and it's served multiple purposes. So that's something that again is in our arsenal of streaming tools that we use. So. And next we have the Paladin systems. Again, we have used these, and they, again, for specific types of events, these are quite compact and quite capable as well. It handles 4 video inputs, and it uses the Matrox card, and it does not do any ISO recording. But if you're just doing streams, it's a great unit to work with, and also it is something that that's performed very well for us for our events. And in addition, there's other units that they are selling with this unit, where it's a more all-inclusive package, including monitor and so forth, in a little plastic carry case that you may want to look into, and they're offering that. So.
Will that work with the DeckLink card or just the Matrox?
Well, that has a DeckLink card inside of it.
Oh,
Okay.
So they can only use the PC?
Yeah, and it's only PC, and then also it does not have the Matrox VS4 card because of the size, the casing. It's a little bit too small for it. But yeah, it does have the DeckLink. Okay. Now, here's another unit that we enjoy working with. It's the Roland VR50. And what we like about it is that this unit pretty much handles everything that you throw at it. It takes HD SDI, it takes RGB, HDMI. It has a scaler built in. It also has an audio mixer as well. It has a touch screen, so you don't necessarily have to bring a monitor with you when you're taking it to events. And also the quality is, and the touch interface is just quite versatile. You're able to do a lot of events with it, but one of the things that it doesn't have is an encoder. And again, my go-to encoder generally is the Mac Mini. And basically, we interface this with the Mac Mini, and we have, again, another versatile streaming system. And in fact, we are using the roll-ins to stream the streaming media events live from the main rooms, and also we're using this unit to capture the audio-video for the presentations in the breakout rooms here. And overall, I'm quite impressed with this unit because of the fact that it has everything you need practically built in. And so it's something that, and also the price and the size are very appealing as well. So, yeah.
You're running out of time here, but I want to squeeze in a quick question. You mentioned you interface with the Mac Mini. How are you interfacing with the Mac Mini?
Okay, good question. Okay, so let me breeze through this, and I'll go into just the configuration. But I'll try to answer that right now while we're on the spot here. So basically, here's a secret, guys, is that we handle mission critical events. Obviously, certain clients require high-end, expensive solutions, but we were able to do other major events using Apple Mac Minis in conjunction with the Ultra Studio Mini recorders by Blackmagic. And so what we do is through the Thunderbolt interface from the Ultra Studio, we connect it to a Mac Mini, and then it has a HD SDI input. So that's how we're taking the camera feeds and the outputs from the VR50 HD. This is my go-to encoding system, and also with Wirecast installed. If you guys have the chance, the Apple Mac Mini, the late 2012 models are preferred because, again, it has a quad-core chip. But also another thing is that, unfortunately, Apple kind of cut the newer models at the knees because of the fact that they have put in only dual-core chips in the newer models, but also the processors and so forth aren't up to par for certain streaming capabilities, but also the newer models are not expandable. So if you can find an older, late 2012 Mac Mini, I would recommend doing so. And also purchase the highest processing speed. I'd go 2.6 and above, quad-core, and max out the RAM. Because again, specifically, we're streaming 1080p out of this unit, and with no problems. We've run these nonstop 24/7 weeks at a time, and again, we use them for various purposes. But if you can, pick up the Mac Minis. Okay, so let me go back, and then again, we are running out of time, so I will try to breeze through this. Obviously, there's a lot of streaming systems from Livestream. TriCaster has their TriCaster 40. And also, there are various other configurations of streaming boxes, such as the Stream Machine Pro, which is, again, a unit that has both the VS4 cards built in. Depending on the configuration, it could take multiple SDI inputs, but output SDI feeds. It's a professional solution, and there's also a lot of accessories with keypads and PTZ control for cameras. There's other solutions from DV Streamline as well. And another thing to add to your kit, I would recommend purchasing Teradek cubes. One thing is that they're great as video encoders, and they've proven to be rock solid. The minor drawback to this, depending on again the time factor and how your event is that you have to go in and configure these units via software that you have to download through a computer and so forth, and you have to, if you have to configure it for a particular CDN, or also, if it's a specific event, you got to go in and make those changes manually. Then there's the Teradek VidiU. This interfaces with HDMI. And you could configure it to have to put a single 4G LTE card with it, and it could stream to various platforms like Livestream, Ustream, RTMP, and so forth. And then when you're doing events, sometimes you do not have the internet connection that you need. Sometimes there's various venues that, even though they're large venues, and you go and ask them prior to the event whether or not they have an internet connection. Surprisingly, in a lot of instances, they don't. So I recommend the Teradek Bond units, which has both the encoder and the bonding equipment enclosed into one box. And what this allows you to do is to take 6 USB cell modems and connect them, and then also bond that to send to another server. Generally, this interfaces with what they call a Sputnik server, and actually from there on, it streams out to a CDN, and it combines all the different 4G connections and provides a single solution to stream from. And I think these have worked great, but there's some drawbacks. Is that in a lot of instances there's a lot of the cell reception isn't that great, but also anything that's wireless or cellular based is prone to interference, and that's something that you have to mitigate and be aware of before you stream at an event. Sometimes when there is no interference, these things work great most of the time, but then there's other times when there is a lot of cellular interference and they work okay. But generally, these have been rock solid performers, especially in those situations where you don't have the internet connection. So basically, again, I'm going to wrap this up. But overall, the one last thing is that I want to go over into monitors. Obviously, you have these small portable units, but you need to monitor them. And I would recommend the MMT Monitor to Go FHD HDMI USB portable monitors for portable production. These are great because they can interface with their iPads, but they take an HDMI input, which there's other competitors out there that have a USB input, but there is some lag on the screen. Since this takes HDMI, you're able to, again, get high resolution with minimal lag. And again, you could fold these flat. They could be battery powered if needed. Again, this is a great choice for making sure that you pack it into your case. And again, it doesn't require a lot of room. Now, if you don't want to go in that direction, I recommend the Acer H23 236HL BID 23-inch monitors. These are great, and I've tested them all. These have various inputs with VGA, DVI, and HDMI. again, since it's quite versatile, but also you could pull the stand off and it's flat. Because most of those monitors have stands which you can't take apart without having a screwdriver. These things, you don't need a screwdriver. It has a twist screw, and these are great for portable productions. I could go into disc recorders, but maybe I will just go and summarize everything. So what I presented here are the various things that we do use for our productions. And overall, I think that if you combine all these different things and mix and match, and also figure out what things do work and what doesn't work for you, I recommend that you put together a kit that you can use on call, so that, because again, a lot of times you will get called to events last minute, but also it's something that will give you the opportunity to deliver high quality at an expensive cost, because most of these things combined is under $10,000, including cameras, switchers, and so forth. And overall, if you basically take a look at what I've provided here, and since I've run these through the tests, I think you can't go wrong in putting together a solution that works for you for your business. And I'd like to conclude by saying that there's a lot of choices out there, and also, I would like for you to kind of, keep an open mind when putting together a solution like this, because of the fact that when dealing with customers and other clients, that you have to make sure that you get all the details before the event, and look at all the things that the client is requesting, and also being able to deliver what they need at the end for their project, so that you can establish your reputation in this industry, and providing a stream that's going to be rock solid and will give you the least amount of headaches as possible. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming to this event, and also I'd like to address any questions that you may have in regards to the equipment and solutions that I've presented. So.